Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative Headline News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago, another one for the UNC police lovers to listen to. This is another very interesting story. Most likely about 10 years from now, we might be hearing a similar story with the Hadids. Two brothers have been awarded over $500,000 after the court found that police fabricated evidence against them. The men sued the state for wrongful arrest, false imprisonment, and malicious prosecution. How come this happening so often, and yet we're not hearing anything from the administration condemning it? The siblings, who are not being named because of the amount of the award, were charged back in 2019 with possession of marijuana for the purpose of trafficking within 500 meters of a preschool. The offense was dismissed 4 months later for want of prosecution. On June 14, 2019, police executed a search warrant at the premises of the 27-year-old businessman and property manager and 36-year-old disc jockey and music producer for arms and ammunition. The businessman stated he was in his brother's studio editing a video at 10:30 p.m. when officers entered, pointing guns and shouting for him to freeze. While lying on the ground as instructed, he heard an officer shout out that he found something and came with a black plastic bag of marijuana. The disc jockey said he was in the upstairs bathroom when the police arrived. Both men accused the police of planting the drugs, although they did not see it being done. Yeah, but if it is they knew that they did not have it, then it's obvious they would say, well, that had to be that they planted on us because we didn't have it. They claimed they were targeted because of a past dispute their mother had with one of the officers. And I keep telling people that, and people are asking, why police will ever target people? It's because there are a lot of rogue, very corrupt police officers outside here who will go and frame people for committing crimes because they have a personal vendetta against them. And also, a lot of the times they do it on behalf of the government of the state, whether it's PNM or UNC. Both also said they were transported in the boot of a police van to the police station and placed in dirty cells. Everybody knows that the cells in those police stations and even in prison are horrible. The jockey described the experience as a nightmare which left him scarred. Yes, I'm telling you, it's the same thing. The Hadids and Star Sabga will be scarred for life as well. The men were in custody for 2 days until they were granted station bail. The defense called the brothers' claim frivolous, vexatious, and an abuse of process. You know, the state like to use those terms. Yeah. They maintained that there was reasonable and probable cause for the arrest, charge, and detention, as officers had obtained a valid search warrant following surveillance of the premises. Yeah, you must have saw people going in with toy guns. You know? You would call it props. I doubt it actually have you had to be real into badness to use a real firearm in a music video. So most of the times these are props that look a lot like the real thing, but it's not real. Nobody ever wants to go and do a music video and jeopardize their whole freedom by using a real firearm that isn't licensed in their music videos. That's very unlikely. It was further claimed, bear in mind, I do not like gun music, gun videos. I do not like the glorification of gang culture. I'm just saying. Most of the times, if not all the times, they're using props. They're not using real weapons. It was further claimed that there were videos of artists singing in the studio with guns and that residents reported hearing explosions from the property. That's possibly audio effects. And the residents will probably hear bow, 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 and they're hearing it, and from a distance it might sound as though it's real guns, and it's because it's audio effects. Come now, man. So they wouldn't have any evidence of any. You're hearing noise. That make any sense to y'all? Where are the gunshot holes in the roof and in the walls or whatsoever? That not making sense, people, unless they find blanks. The officers contended that they smelled marijuana upon entry and saw one of the men running in the shared studio to place on a ledge an item which was identified as marijuana. The police detained the men. Police denied the men were held in sanitary cell conditions and stated that the dismissal of the charge came as the officer was attending another court matter, and not due to lack of evidence. That's always the excuse, you know? And that's what happens a lot of the times too. The police never actually attend the court cases and always have some kind of lame excuse. Justice Westman James, however, found that there were material inconsistencies, contradictions, improbabilities, and deficiencies in the defendant's evidence. This included that officers said they smelled burning marijuana on entering the premises, but there was no evidence presented of cigarette remnants, ashes, rolling paper, lighters, or other items. So you just give the judges and them a judge a bag of weed, bam, hold that, that's the evidence. But where was the rest of evidence to prove that these people were actually using weed at that point in time? James found that the narrative concerning the discovery of the marijuana was devised to provide a justification for arrest made after an unsuccessful search for firearms. They really probably thought that they were going in to get firearms. They didn't find any. The court further found that the chase, as stated by the defendant, did not occur, given it was a short distance and a number of police officers were present, so where the man could go running. It was further noted that although the police relied on a theory of joint possession, no explanation was provided over the claimant's father, who was at the premises not being charged. How come he wasn't charged as well? You all were targeting those two men for some personal reason. James noted even if the court were to leave aside its finding of fabrication, the defendant's evidence still falls well short of establishing reasonable suspicion. Same thing with the Hadiths, one phone call, personal conversation between two women who frustrated with the government and were saying what they think should happen or what could happen. The government said that they were plotting to murder members of the Kamala administration. The court found there was wrongful arrest, false imprisonment, and malicious prosecution. The men were each awarded $120 for malicious prosecution. They were awarded $75,000 for wrongful arrest and false imprisonment. And in relation to these, James noted that the men's humiliation was compounded by the public nature of the arrest and the likelihood of reputational harm increased given that it occurred within the community. He further accepted that the conditions of detention were unpleasant and degrading. I'm telling everybody know the jail cells nasty. And the overall conditions increased in dignity and discomfort with their detention. I'm telling you, look out, people. Most likely millions of dollars will be compensated to the Hadiths and Star Sabga in the future. The court found that exemplary damages in the amount of $50,000 to each brother appropriately reflected the exceptional seriousness of the defendant's conduct. The brothers were also awarded $7,500 for special damages. The award to each amounted to $252,500, and an interest was ordered to be added on all except the exemplary damages. The defendant was also ordered to pay the men's cost in the sum of the defendant was also ordered to pay the men's cost in the sum of $50,304.08. My response, and the defendant is the state, not the officers and them, No, because daddy and mommy state always protects the officers. My response, I wonder what the UNC crew has to say about this report. Didn't see much comments coming from the UNC crew. Were there different TTPS rough men under the mighty Morphin Ghanaian Coalpot Bicycle PNM? And that's what they would love to say. Oh, that happened under the PNM, not under the UNC, but it's the same police officers. The tyrant camps hire new good officers to defend citizens while you sleep. The tree remove the PNM officers and bring in UNC officers? No smarties. These are Kamala's precious rough men. Now, not these men in particular, but I'm talking about the TTPS. The rogue, corrupt, waste of time TTPS, incompetent TTPS. These are Kamala's precious rough men who have been using their authority as police officers to persecute citizens of TNT for decades. Kamala continues to praise the men in blue instead of doing the right thing, which is to instruct the Commissioner of Police, Guevara, to significantly reform the corrupt and incompetent law enforcement agency. Cams and crew will either stay silent because it's case after case we hear about this recently. So they will either stay silent while millions of taxpayers' dollars are used in compensation money, or will say, we support the good ones who do their job in an honest manner. That's the only other thing they will say. Okay, fine. I would have no problem if you say that, but we don't really hear it. And you're not calling for any reform. You're not calling for the end of this kind of nonsense. You're not calling for the laws to be changed, that these people will be held personally accountable. But I went on to also say this. I said, so, okay. So how come you didn't condemn the TTPS for arresting Alyssa Phillip, who was simply protesting, just like we did under Rowley's reign, during Rowley's reign? How come you continue to use an SOE to detain citizens without any credible evidence which can be used to ensure charges are laid, Kamala? Laws need to be changed so that these rough men are the ones who are personally responsible for compensating victims of wrongful arrest, false imprisonment, and malicious prosecution. That, people, is what we need to do. But do we have a government that is willing to do that? So you know what? Closing this segment with this. Good job, officers. Mommy and Daddy State will continue to compensate victims on your behalf.
Weather report for Trinidad and Tobago on Saturday, August 1, 2026. The weather in Trinidad and Tobago will be variably cloudy, hazy, and breezy with a maximum temperature of 31 degrees Celsius and a minimum temperature of 25 degrees Celsius. The official forecast indicates isolated morning showers will give way to a mostly fair and breezy night. The maximum heat index is expected to feel like 34 degrees Celsius with humidity levels ranging from 70% to 95%. Winds will blow from the east-southeast to south-southeast at speeds of 5 to 40 km per hour with occasional higher gusts. Spring tides remain in effect across the islands. Open waters will experience slight to moderate sea conditions with wave heights ranging from 1.0 meter to 1.5 meters. Sheltered areas will see calmer waves measuring near 1.0 meter. All marine operators and coastal visitors are advised to exercise caution, particularly during peak high tide hours.
International news now. America's stockpile of missile defense interceptors is shrinking so much that military planners are weighing whether they can continue the current cycle of limited retaliatory strikes. And Trump always boasting, oh, we are the best in the world, and we are the greatest and the most powerful in the world. I mean, they are, but it doesn't mean that they are invincible. See what's going on? And this isn't even like a full-fledged war. Eh? It begs the question, what the hell really going on? Iran's strategy appears to be targeting U.S. bases, forcing the U.S. to deplete its advanced missile defense interceptors, such as Patriot and THAAD systems, when they need to start to produce a whole lot more. And compelling the Pentagon to accept greater risk in defending U.S. troops as the conflict drags on. Iran appears to believe this is the best hope of outlasting the U.S. military. My goodness. But that is why Trump stopped playing these games. Just finish the job. Finish the job. Because look what, you're actually endangering the lives of your own military officers while you continue to play games with terrorists in Iran and other Middle East countries around the world.
Psalm 25, 1-3. A prayer expressing absolute trust in God, patient expectation, and the assurance that those who look to Him will never be put to shame. To you, Lord, I lift up my soul. My God, I trust in you, do not let me be put to shame, nor let my enemies triumph over me. No one who hopes in you will ever be put to shame, but complete confusion will come to those who are treacherous without cause.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's headline news. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.